Hi, I'm Andy.
Jennifer Smith. We hope you're having a super great night.
Super night, because we are, in spite of. Have you ever had times where things just didn't go right? You know, you were expecting something to turn out a little different and it didn't turn out the way you thought. Things just sometimes don't go right. I know that you do. I know everybody's had that. So I want you to think about one of those times for you when things just didn't turn out the way you thought they were going to, and you feel something just went wrong.
Like tonight.
Like tonight.
Like tonight, when he was helping cook dinner, because I was multitasking, and so he offered to put the hamburgers in the pan, and it ended up being his fault. They got a little overcooked. I went over to put the temperature in there and check them out, and they were good, but they were a little bit overcooked. So, you know, a disappointing moment there.
The truth is, though, not my fault. See, I was ready to take them off the heat, but she had to get out the little probe and stick it in each one of those little patties and make sure the temperature was right.
Right? We don't want to.
So when I would have taken them off the heat, they had to stay in there for 2 more minutes just so she could get the temperature check. So.
And then I even teased my son. I said it was his fault because he was going to help cook dinner tonight, and I don't know where he was. He's the good hamburger cooker.
he's the master chef, and he didn't show up. So yeah, his fault.
Yeah. So blaming.
So yes,
Blaming
if you couldn't tell from our sharing this experience, we want to talk about the blame game, and hopefully how to avoid that, not get caught up in that, because it can really be serious and destructive in your relationships, or really in just about any aspect of your life. It shows up in ways that probably most people aren't even aware of. And before we go any further, I just want to say that we are perfectly aware of when we share a message. We just want to hop on every Friday night sometime and just share a principle or a concept, and just to create awareness and maybe some tips to help navigate through help you navigate a little smoother through some of those challenges that you're currently going through. And so that's part of what we're doing. So I know tonight's topic, you can probably find whole books on it. And so we know that we're just scratching the surface. So if anybody in their specific complications in life need some clarification or some extra help digging into and applying what we're teaching to what you're going through, you know, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, so you can go ahead. I'll put a link in the comments below. I would love to just chat with you. A complimentary mini coaching session. We could chat on specific topics. Possibly if you struggle with the blame game, right? It can be very destructive. And so you could also private message me. So there's great ways you can connect with us.
So there's just, you know, like I said, scratching the surface, but there's a couple of things that we want to point out, that what blaming others for the way things turned out, why that is actually harmful. Story.
Yeah, so I have this funny little story about a mom who walks in a bedroom and she sees her 2-year-old boy, Scott. He's crying, and she sees a plastic bat laying on the floor, and her 4-year-old Hannah is in the room as well. And she asks Hannah why Scott is crying. And Hannah says he hit his head. And then the mom said, "Oh, what did he hit his head on?" And Hannah said, "The bat." And then Mom said, "Where was the bat when he hit his head on it?" And Hannah said, "In my hand." So, how often do we do that? We try to avoid responsibility and shift the blame somewhere else. Like she was trying to shift it on the bat. It wasn't really her, right?
So yeah, when things don't go right, that's human nature. Probably natural response is it doesn't feel good to be us. It's not my fault. I don't want it to be my fault. And so a natural response is to get rid of that. What was that quote you had? You get rid of it. Blaming is getting rid of the pain.
The pain. Mm-hmm.
And so
and the discomfort.
To get rid of the pain and discomfort,
it's like, I'm going to blame someone else.
Blame someone else because it kind of hurts a little bit emotionally if I am the one that caused the things not to go right.
Right.
So, what next?
So number 2 is we tend to want to say it's other people's faults, right? We want to shift the accountability and responsibility, and that leaves us feeling totally powerless because we can't change or improve the situation. You know, successful people realize that it's only themselves that can change to improve the situation, whereas unsuccessful people tend to blame their discomfort and sad events on external circumstances instead of, taking that responsibility. So I'm going to share this cool little thing I found on the internet today, which kind of illustrates that. It's actually humorous but sad at the same time. It says
because we're all like this, really.
Yeah, see where you fit, right? Like if it makes sense to your daily life. So when the other fellow takes a long time, he's slow. When I take a long time, I'm thorough. When the other fellow doesn't do it, he's lazy. When I don't do it, I'm busy. When the other fellow does something without being told, he's overstepping his bounds. And when I do it, that's initiative. When the other fellow overlooks a rule of etiquette, he's rude. But when I skip a few rules, I'm original. And when the other fellow pleases the boss, he's an apple polisher. And when I please the boss, it's cooperation. When the other fellow gets ahead, he's getting the breaks. And when I manage to get ahead, that's just the reward for hard work. And then there's this cool quote from Elmer G. Letterman. A man may fall many times, but he won't be a failure until he says someone pushed him. That it was somebody else's fault, right?
So what we're inviting all of you to do is try to avoid that trap of blaming, because really it leaves you powerless. Things in this world just don't always go the way we want them to. And if we cannot accept where we had something to do with that, I mean, it might be her fault, it might be my fault, it might be everybody's fault, and none of that really matters. But when we're blaming, we really do, we're giving up that responsibility, saying, I was not responsible for that, I had nothing to do with that, it was their fault, not mine. As soon as you do that, you're giving your life into someone else's hands, and you have to sit there and wait now for them to change and improve in order for your life to get better. You give up the power to even see solutions, let alone act on them to make those improvements. And so we really want all of you to be more powerful in your conscious actions. Don't blame.
Have that solution mindset, looking for the solution, not for who's at fault all the time. How can we fix this? How can we improve this?
And if there is really somebody made a mistake and it's just totally obvious and they were the ones, the best thing for us to do instead of blaming, because blame carries an element and an energy of criticizing and condemning, and nobody needs that. We can't help them improve if they've been condemned. You know how that feels? So with empathy, show some empathy if someone needs that to help them rise to a higher level too.
Yeah, because if they're blaming, they're trying to let go of some discomfort and pain. They're having something maybe they're struggling with and they might need help with. And we often feel hurt and take things personally, and a lot of times it's not even intended that way.
So, ready for a big finish?
Yeah, go ahead. We'll share
So,
this proverb to live
we
by.
work with a lot of different people, a lot of different ages, and interesting sometimes where some of the greatest wisdom comes from. But I don't know where this fellow got this from. 18 years old, single, never been in serious relationships. He wasn't even really dating, but he shared with me something that he lived by, and I'm going to share it with you because I think you can make this little proverb something that you live by every day. And if you remember this when things go wrong, it will make a difference. And here's what he told me. He says, there's always something to explain rather than someone to blame. So, was that clear?
Let's say it again.
We did it in harmony, so did you get that?
There is always something to explain rather than someone to blame.
So try that on for size, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye guys.
Bye.